Good morning and welcome to this hybrid meeting of Planning Committee on Tuesday the 21st of May 2024. I am Councillor Jeff Jones, the chair of this meeting. Just to make you all aware, today's meeting will be recorded. Can I also welcome any members of the public and press to today's meeting? Can I kindly ask you to observe the meeting only and not to speak or participate? Please ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. Members, if you wish to speak or ask a question, please raise your electronic hand on Teams or physical hand if in person. I will now move on to agenda item 1, Chair's announcements. I can confirm I have no announcements to make. Agenda item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest?
I see no indications, Chair.
Thank you, Tammy. Agenda item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. The minutes from the meeting held on the 26th of March 2024 are attached on pages 5 to 8 of the agenda pack up for approval. Do any members have comments to make on the accuracy of these minutes? Please, can I have a proposer and seconder to approve the minutes?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Good.
In a second, Chair.
Thank you.
I see no indications to the contrary, Chair, so all of those minutes have been approved.
Agenda item 4 is a request for site visits. Are there any members wishing to suggest a site visit on the application presented today or for any other matter? Please let me know if you wish to call for a site visit at any point in the meeting. Now we move on to section A of the agenda, which is matters for decision. The application before us today is application number.
Sorry, Chair, just raise hand from Councillor Timbo when on.
Yeah.
Legacy hand, are you?
No, I would like to propose a site visit. Not quite happy with some of the concerns regarding this property.
We're having a few issues with sound in the chamber, so members, if you bear with us. Councillor Bowen has just proposed a site visit for application P2023/0960. On what grounds, Councillor Bowen?
I'm concerned the elevations and where windows are and a few the pieces, park and so forth. So I think a few other members would like a site visit as well.
Yes, this is do the vote on that. So let's see.
Thanks for that, Councillor Bowen, that's great. So you propose a site visit. Any members second the site visit?
I'd like to second that, Tammy, if I could, please, for the same reasons that Councillor Bowen has brought forward for this application on 40 in Baglan, please.
Thank you, Councillor Carl Jordan, that's great. We shall vote on that now. If I take, hang on, Councillor Patterson in the room, it's going to just have a word in a minute, thank you.
Thanks. Being as that there are no actual buildings to see, it's all up for plan, I can't see how going there will actually benefit anybody, because you'll just have to point to a bit of space where the building would be. It's not actually there at the moment. Okay.
Just for clarification, obviously there is a bungalow there. They're obviously raising the height to, yeah, so they're raising it up. We have obviously got images within the presentation that would show the street scene that we think would give enough clarity for members to be able to make a decision today.
Thank you. I didn't mention the house that was already there. No, I know that that one is there, but we wouldn't have the benefit of seeing where the other house would be. It would just be pointing to there. Thank you.
Okay, well, Chair, if it's all right with you, we've had a proposal and seconder, so we'll vote on the site visit now. If I take each member through one at a time, is that okay, everyone? Okay, thank you. No problem. So we've had a proposal from Councillor Tim Bowen and a seconder from Councillor Carl Jordan. So in alphabetical order, Councillor Anna Aubrey, how do you wish to vote on a site visit, please?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Tim Bowen, please. How do you vote on a site visit?
For, please.
Thank you. Councillor Heath Davis, same question to you, please.
For, please.
Thank you. Councillor Rosalind Davis, please.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Cathy James, please.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Jeff Jones, Chair.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Carl Jordan.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Suzanne Paddison.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Rogers. Councillor Phil Rogers. I can see Councillor Rogers has just left the meeting. I don't know if he's having technical issues. We'll give it a minute. Oh, he's back. Councillor Phil Rogers.
1 second. Yeah, I just logged into it just as I was about to talk. Then I'm against. Thank you.
Just checking how you wish to vote on the site visit proposed for 40 Pentoy Baglan Road.
I'm against.
Thank you. Are there any members present who are voting members of the committee that I've missed off that roll call? No? Okay, give me a second, Chair. We will go to whether that site visit is going ahead or not. So 6-3 against, so that site visit will not go ahead now. Thank you, members. Back to the Chair on agenda item 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Now we move on to section 8 of the agenda, which is matters for decision. The application before us today is application number P2023-0960, 40 Pentoy Road, Baglan Road. The report is set out on pages 9 to 26, and this application is recommended for approval. I would now like to ask the planning officers to take us through the report.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, apologies there. I did see a hand raised from Councillor Peter Richards. That's gone down now. So, Councillor Richards, you don't want to raise your hand at this point, do you?
I'll come in at the end, please, Tammy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Richards.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This is application P2023-0960, proposed first floor extension, a single-story side extension, single-story outbuilding, and retaining wall driveway extension front at 40 Pentoy Baglan Road in Baglan. I'd like to draw members' attention to the amendment sheet where there's an additional condition on and a typo which we picked up this morning on page 10, where it said the existing real extension will also be increased in height to max proposed at 6.1. That should be 5.1, not 6.1. So this is the location plan. It identifies the application site as edged red. And this is an aerial photo which shows the location of the property within the existing streets being development and the developable area located to the east, where we've previously had an application for the criminal cars parking area. So this is the application site, the right hand side with the arrow above it. You'll note that the other properties in the street from the photographs are 2-story properties with the ridge lines running parallel to the road, and the 2 bungalows located at the end of the road. Again, from further distance, you will see the 2-story properties and the parking arrangements at the front of the properties. Again, with the application site located and indicated in the arrow in there. So this is the relationship between the 2 properties, number 40 and 42. These are the existing elevations of property at number 42. This is a single-story existing bungalow with a single-story rear extension, but a hipped ridged roof with a ridge running parallel to the frontage, similar to the 2-story properties located further down. This is the proposed development, and obviously you see that provided the first floor extension with a ridged roof, provide a 2-story dwelling, porch to the front, a single-story side extension with roof lanterns, and the increase in the rear wing again to match the 2-story of the existing dwelling. Got the block plan there located on the left. This is the outbuilding located at the back and top end of the garden. The footprint of the building will be lanterns shown on single-story elements to the right-hand side, and the parking arrangements will the existing block plan is also shown on that plan, which shows the existing garage and small driveway, which will show some further images of the report. These are the elevations of what they call the man cave or house building, located at the bottom of the garden there on the right-hand side of the plan. So as you note from the report, where the objections are set out, this window here located on the image there on the left-hand side of the screen is the side elevation window referred to in the report. You will note that the level difference between the application site and the neighbouring property, and also the heights in terms of the dwellings as they stand, and the outlook from that window. That window is a secondary window to the room, so they also have a window located to the rear elevation. Again, some images of the relationship between the 2 properties, and you can see the difference in heights between the existing properties and the location of the window there on the image that's referred to in the report. So we've pulled this together just to give you a highlight in terms of the differences between the 2. You'll see the existing dwelling 42 and 40 in relationship between the 2 properties, and then the proposed elevations, what the 40 would actually look like post development. On the left-hand side of the plan, you will see the 45 degree line indicated on the rear window of the property. The 45 degree was set out in our household design guide. It's assessing impacts in terms of loss of light and impact in terms of both bearing and overlooking onto properties. Because both of those windows serve the same property, the 45 degree from the rear would be in compliance with our household design guide. And you will note from the previous images and from that cross section, you obviously see the differences there. The side with those on that plan. You can see that looks out onto the existing retaining wall and side elevation of the dwelling. Whilst obviously set out in the report that they will remain in place, the impact in terms of the outlook from the rear of the property is minimal, but obviously it will have an impact on the side window, but it's not considered that we significant enough to warrant recommendation in this case, or to have the views in this case. Again, close up of the 45 view from the rear window. You can see that the footprint of the building remains near enough. Again, to go for the existing, it's just raising it up a floor. This is an image of the rear of the property. So this is where the outbuilding is located at the back end of the property, and get a small element of cutting build to level it to provide the level it was.
That's the elevations of the building. As I'm provided sort of a garden room with a store and WC, with windows obviously located on the elevation looking into the rear garden area.
Sorry, Chris, I'll just stop you there a second. Chair, Councillor Carl Jordan has his hand raised. Is that for now, Councillor Jordan?
do apologise, Tammy, you must have pressed it in mistake. I'll take it down.
Okay, thank you.
So turning to the highways issues, this is the existing situation on the frontage. So you will see quite an old substandard garage, the front of the property with a retaining wall and a short driveway straight out onto the highway. So this is the proposed arrangement that the applicants wish to provide, and you will note again from the amendment sheet that we've proposed in an additional condition that will require the off-street car parking area to be provided prior to any development of the dwelling, which would facilitate obviously aid during construction to provide space for materials and things during construction, but also ensure that any vehicles be able to park off the street during that process, because the road doesn't have any footways on this side as well. So the proposal is to provide 2 off-street car parking spaces when there's currently sort of 1.5 really, but in terms of current standards, obviously very substandard in terms of our current guidelines. The provision of the planted area ensures that the car parking spaces are pushed to one side, which means that if anyone was reversing out of those spaces, it would increase visibility for traffic travelling up Penton Baglan Road. Whereas if that wasn't there and there were 3 spaces, the visibility would be restricted by the retaining wall. So to highlight the existing situation further down the street, you will obviously see that there are a lot of other driveways located along the frontage. As you see here, they've got parking bays as well along the frontage where people can reverse in or drive in. So in terms of our recommendation is set out within the report, starting on page 22 and running all the way through to page 26 with the conditions as set out there, and also the additional condition on the amendment sheet. So our recommendation is approval subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. I will now ask the local ward members if they wish to come in at this point. No? Oh. Councillor Richards.
Thank you, Chair. To be honest, I listened to the points raised in the meeting, and obviously concerns that were submitted by the occupant of house number 40. I still got concerns about the overshadowing and the removal of privacy from the occupants. The occupants, I'm told, well, I know, are in there. One of them is 91 and the other one is 86. And there's concerns really about the lack of privacy that development would take. And the overshadowing. I don't think we can get a true picture of this from the plans. And I'd like to thank Tim for proposing a site visit, but I don't think the members of this committee are aware of that location and how difficult it is. So no, those are my comments, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Richards. Councillor Suzanne Patterson, please. Apologies, Councillor Suzanne Renkes.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to sort of echo, I suppose, what Peter's just said. I've been to that property at number 42. They are elderly residents, and I appreciate that's not a concern of the planning committee. The window to the side of the house, it's actually the main window for that living room. That was one of the first bungalows to be built on that part of the road. And the bungalow in consideration for this application was built after that. And it's also elevated. So of course, when the number 40 was originally built, as it does block off some light, but the sun, because it moves around, of course, does filter through the gap between the 2 houses, mainly because the roofs are exactly the same level at the moment. if number 40 was made into a second story, and I don't think the plan showed this off particularly clearly, that would make the roof of that particular property of number 40 much higher than number 42 and any of the other properties within that row, taking away light not only from number 42 but probably from the gardens of the other properties as well. I think there is also some concern from my residents that I think you saw it on the picture actually. At the moment, at number 40, if anybody were to walk down the side of that path, they would be higher up than number 42 and therefore could look straight into the living room. That path is blocked off and not used at the moment, but would maybe have to be used if the extension to the side of the property and the garages and so on, because there would be no other way of getting to the back of the property. And so I also have, grave concerns about overshadowing, overbearing, taking the light away from number 42. And they spend all of their time in the living room. Mrs. Aubrey is not very mobile and Mr. Aubrey has got dementia. So, and again, I understand that's not a consideration for the committee because you can't be subjective, but I'm just saying how much of it, I'm just trying to portray some of the impact that this would have on the residents of number 42. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Renkies. Chris?
Thank you, Chair. There is no doubt that any development will have an impact on an adjoining property, and obviously we have to consider the impacts in terms of our design guide and our planning policies. I'll just go back to the presentation briefly just to run through a couple of the images just to reiterate what we've already provided, if it works. Let's try again. Doesn't like it. Get rid of that one. Right, let's try again. That's better. So you, in terms of the street scene, obviously you can see the orientation of all of the dwellings and the application site located at the end there, indicated red. Based on the location of the property and the extensions proposed, it would basically be raising the height of the building upwards, but not in terms of footprints on to the majority of it. So in terms of impacts on adjoining properties, along the length of that, it's very limited in terms of it just going up in height. So in terms of the impact on overlooking or outlook and privacy, there are no windows located in an area that would be overlooking the adjoining property. All of the windows will be looking into the rear garden, which is not dissimilar to any other property along that frontage. So to go to the next image, if it works. Yeah. So you can see that whilst the property is located in an elevated position, also the houses actually change in heights, and so in terms of the street scene, it is not considered that by increasing the height it will be out of keeping in terms of the street scene, as there's a staggered difference between the street. You will also note from the next image that the majority of houses there are 2-storey, and you can see that due to the scale of the height of the roof of the bungalow adjoining at number 40, that the increase in height of this building won't look out of place in terms of the wider street scene. So again, you can see that from this image as well in terms of the difference in height between the two. And if we go to the comparison image, which is this one. So you can see obviously there will be an increase in height, but it's not significant in terms, and it will flow in terms of the street scene that we considered as part of the wider elevations. We don't think at anyone moving up and down that street scene would be thinking it was out of keeping or out of character. In terms of the window, again, we'd reiterate our household design guide. Side windows are very difficult to protect. You do find them in older properties. Obviously, when you look at that elevation there and the existing boundary treatment, the applicants can place a 2 metre high means of enclosure on that boundary closer than the current property, right next to that window without planning permission. So as long as it's below 2 metres in height, they could put a means of enclosure a lot closer than the existing. So the building doesn't actually move any closer to them. It's just going higher. And you will see from that view from the window is that whilst the eaves level will be raised up, the ridge line then will slope away. So there will be an impact. But in terms of the rear extension as well, as you can see from this image, the rear extension is located to the other side of the property, which means that whilst there may be oblique views of it in terms of direct overlooking or overbearance, there are no real impacts from the rear elevation. Again, the 45-degree rule is shown on that plan, which shows that it does comply. Whilst I note the members' view that the room is heavily used, there are 2 windows, and the outlook to the rear is normally the one that we try to protect to ensure that there are no significant impacts in terms of residential amenity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. I will now take questions from members of the committee. Members, do you have any questions?
Councillor Carl Jordan, Chair.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Chair. Question for Chris, please. As all members that are here today, we've all had quite a comprehensive list of objections, and which included pictures and figures provided by Mrs. Aubrey, the neighbour of the proposed development. She's used Planning Aid Wales as a reference. Obviously, going back to the previous proposed image of the property, just wondering why there hasn't been one which would be proposed as in once it's constructed alongside the existing sort of bungalows now. Planning Aid Wales states that where there's a change in levels between 2 dwellings, an extension of the higher of the 2 would have a greater effect on its lower neighbour. I was just wondering if we could sort of have some sort of explanation, really, why there isn't a proposed constructed development against the existing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jordan. Chris, please.
All of the information submitted with the application complies in terms of the national validation requirements. I mean, there is a cross-section in there showing the existing, and officers are able to calculate what the differences are in terms of the height based on the scale plans that are provided. As I said, we've put that image in there to show the comparison between the 2, because we've already did the comparison for members to understand the differences. But in terms of the height differences, officers are happy that they can assess all of the impacts from it. As I said, the building itself is remaining in the same location. It's just going up higher. And I said the only impact in terms of the adjoining property is predominantly from that window. And as we said, that's a side window to a room that has 2 windows, one of which faces out into the rear garden. And we're quite confident that the information that's been provided allows us to assess the impacts in terms of the wider street scene, in terms of the overall height. So in terms of the impacts of the increase in height and the changes to property, we think there's adequate information in order for us to be able to make a decision today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any other questions? No, okay, then so I'll move on. Okay. Now moving on to the recommendation, which starts on page 22 of the report. And again, this application is recommended for approval. Could I have a proposer and a seconder to consider the recommendation?
I'm happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'll second.
Councillor Rosalind Davis.
Sorry, I was going to second.
Okay, thank you,
My
Councillor.
hand didn't go down.
Okay. Tammy, could you please ask each member if they have been present for the whole of this item and how they wish to vote, please?
Yes, certainly, Chair. Starting alphabetically, Councillor Anne-Hara Aubrey, have you been here for the whole of this item and how do you wish to vote, please?
Yes, and I support the recommendation.
Thank you. Same questions to the following members. Councillor Tim Bowen, please.
Yes, been present and wish to abstain, please.
I'm sorry, could you say that again for me? Sorry.
I've been present and wish to abstain.
Abstain, thank you. Councillor Heath Davis, please.
Yes and yes.
Yes, you're in favour of the recommendation?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Rosalind Davis, please. Have you been present for the whole of this item and how do you wish to vote?
I've been present for the whole item and I'm in favour of the recommendation. Diolch.
Thank you. Councillor Cathy James, please. Same questions.
Yes, I've been present for the entire item and I vote in favour of the officer's recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor James. Councillor Jeff Jones, Chair, please.
Yes, I vote for approval.
Thank you, and you've been present for the whole of the item. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Carl Jordan, have you been present for the whole item and how do you wish to vote?
Yes, we're present throughout the whole of the item and I'd like to abstain, please.
Thank you. Councillor Paddison, please.
Yes, I've been here throughout and I will vote with the officer recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Rogers, please.
Hello, as you know, I had a slight blip when we voted on the bit about the site visit, but it was off for a couple of seconds. But I've heard all the things that have been put forward, and I'm for the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. So just to confirm, you've been present for this whole item.
Yes.
And we are, and you're in favour. Thank you,
Yes,
Councillor Rogers. Okay. So have I missed any members, voting members, off that that list there? No. All done. Great. So we've had 2 abstentions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 for. So, Chair, that recommendation has been carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Now we move on to section B of the agenda, which is matters for information. Agenda items 6 and 7 detail the appeals received and delegated decisions from the timeframe as detailed in the circulated reports. As Chair, I can confirm that we note the information contained within these reports. Agenda item 8 is to receive any urgent items. I can confirm we have no urgent items today. There are no further items, so that ends the business for today. Thank you all for attending.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you.